Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hey, if you're anywhere near the Memphis, Tennessee area, this weekend we'll be at Bartlett, Tennessee at the Lord's Church. We'll be there Sunday morning, Sunday night, and then next week we'll be in Fort Worth with Joey Roberts at his meeting there. It's called Rapture School. We're going to have such a great time. We'll have 2 sessions on Thursday night, 2 sessions Friday night and Saturday night. We'll have a great time. This is another one of his Generations type summits. We'll have a wonderful time. It's so cool to see the crowds that come about end times. It amazes me how we're so getting close to his return, and the excitement's building in the church, because it's not an escape theology. It's when you see the finish line, you run faster. So how wonderful to have the technology that we have, that we can see all the nations getting ready and literally doing things that were prophesied 2,700 years ago, 2,000 years ago, getting in position, because it's such an exciting time. I hear people say, well, you don't need to preach on the coming of the Lord, just get everybody's hopes up. That's exactly right. It's the hope that purifies us even as we're pure. So many things are happening every single week. Sometimes I can't get all of it in, but they're absolutely remarkable, pointing to the return of the King. So great times for the church, scary time for the world. So we have to finish off the book of Acts in Jesus' style. What is that style? Mercy, compassion, power, love, boldness, and the miraculous resurrection of Jesus being displayed through the church. Let's pick up to what's happened this week in Israel. Gosh, probably number one to me was Iran releasing a video of their underground missile sites. Gosh, you should have seen all the missiles there. Thousands and thousands and thousands of missiles. Of course, that was in response to Israel last week talking about how they're plotting the course to have to preemptively strike Iran because of all the activity of the missiles that they're using. And with that, the Israeli Defense Forces came out saying, in the next war with Hezbollah, Israel's going to get hit with 2,000 missiles a day. So that's pretty radical. And once again, Hezbollah's leader, Nasrallah, came out and said, we're going to take out Haifa, we're going to take out Tel Aviv, and then he said, we're going to take out Jerusalem, which is absolutely insane. With that, there's a real preparedness in the northern part of Israel for that, along with the connection with Iran. It looks like all the equipment coming to Hezbollah is coming from Iran. So you had a really wild test yesterday with the Iron Dome system. This is kind of amazing. The Iron Dome system is being upgraded every year, of course, because of all the missiles that look like they're going to be coming at Israel. The Iron Dome system took out tons of drones and took out tons of missiles simultaneously. I know, England, that's amazing to have both of them done with the Iron Dome. So the sophistication there is absolutely amazing, because you have the verbiage from all these nations that the Bible said you'd see attacking Israel right after the rapture. That's a huge deal, what I just said there. With that, it looks like Turkey, this is in all the Middle Eastern papers, Turkey's readying itself for war with Israel. Over, of all things, a pipeline being laid outside the eastern Mediterranean Sea going toward Greece and going toward Cyprus. So Turkey's freaking out about that, along with several other things. So you've got the nations that are mentioned in attacking Israel doing so many things blatantly right in front of our eyes. But there's other things going on that are exciting. You had a really wild finding in the Jordanian desert. You had archaeologists using rappelling ropes and using drones going down thousands of feet down into the earth, found all these scrolls that were perfectly kept from 2,000 years ago of the Bible, of Nahum, of Malachi, all these things showing the Jews tied to the land from thousands of years ago. You had the same thing happening in the same week, this last week in Egypt. You had archaeologists finding more finds about Christianity. So you got more technology showing forth literally the truth of the Word of God, along with, that's why we talk about prophecy, because Isaiah said, this is what brings authenticity to the book. God said, I'll tell you what's going to happen before it happens. Ezekiel prophesied the exact year that Israel would be made a nation. Pretty amazing. Gabriel told Daniel the very year Jesus would come the first time. So you have phenomenal things happening with that. Then you have natural things, which are amazing. You've got an asteroid that's going to do a flyby of the Earth March 21st, and it's the size of the Golden Gate Bridge. And then in other nations, you got sandstorms. You got sandstorm in Beijing. They said it was a freak sandstorm, the worst in 10 years. You had a sandstorm in Saudi Arabia that turned everything blood red. Along with that, I don't even get into all the locust things that are happening and all the earthquakes. I talked about Iceland having 20,000 earthquakes in 1 week. Now they're looking for volcanic eruptions in Ecuador. So the earth's getting ready, nature's getting ready. The nations that are set up to attack Israel just after the rapture are literally taking shape right now. You've got Israel's airport, seems like it opened up this last week for flights from all around the world, so that's going to help their economy. But the main thing is the specific nations that are going to attack Israel literally are setting up to attack right now. And the nations that don't attack Israel are making more friends with Israel. I mean, you got Kosovo setting up an embassy in Jerusalem this week, but mainly the Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and United Arab Emirates, which all these nations have been foes of Israel, now are great friends with Israel. So you see the alignment of what's going to take place right after the rapture of the church. So we have a lot to do in a short period of time. So we always go to the signs in the scripture, even though all these things are happening right in front of our eyes. We go, well, what's the Bible say? Luke 21, Jesus said, the generation that sees Israel made a nation and Jerusalem won back, he said, that generation won't pass away till all is fulfilled. So those are the two main signs. But then you have so many more, it's hard to get into them every week, and I go too fast, but you got the Hebrew language restored. You get the Ethiopian Jews brought back in one day. You got the fertility of the land of Israel. Absolutely amazing when you get into all those things. You have the revival of the Roman Empire. You have the building in Strasbourg, France, that's identical to the Tower of Babel. You have the Temple Mount Institute that's ready to start having sacrifices. This last year, they weren't arrested because the chief of police let them literally have a sacrifice on the edge of the Temple Mount. Last year, they got arrested for doing that. So there's a push for that. I talked about the Temple Mount, what happened a couple of weeks ago. More things are going to revolve around the Temple Mount, I'm sure. I didn't even get into it, but the Pope, Iraq, all the people in Iraq are crying out for Jews to come to Iraq to help to rebuild Babylon, which is amazing. Specific things that are signs coming to pass what the Bible said you'd see. So you have many more. You have men be lovers themselves. We have selfie sticks. So you have Aerosmith, Steven Tyler got saved. I mean, it can't get any weirder than that when the boys from Boston are getting born again. So sign after sign after sign after sign. 172 different species of predatory birds showing up in the land. Amazing. Fish showing up in the Dead Sea, foxes showing up on the Temple Mount, the ritual baths around the Temple Mount filling up with water, Sea of Galilee filling up with water. So you have all these signs, and then you have signs in the heavens. You've got signals. You had blood red moons a few years ago. When? On Passover and Tabernacles, 4 in a row. NASA calls that a tetrad. When's the last time you had 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacles? 1967 when Jerusalem was won back. 1948 when Israel was made a nation. 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. And then you had even more. You had the Bethlehem Star last year, Jupiter, Regulus, Venus coming together. Pretty amazing. First time in 2,000 years. The constellation was Virgo at the birth of Jesus. This last year, the constellation was the Leo because he's the lion of the tribe of Judah. So how exciting to have natural things on the earth taking place for nations to get in position. And then you got the heavens getting in position. Then you got animals getting in positions. You have all these different groups ready for what's going to happen just after the coming of the Lord and just preceding the coming of the Lord. Very exciting. Many more things happening with the stars. Many more things happening with the heavens. Hard to get into all of it. But the main thing is, this is it. I've heard professors, college professors say, now, there's always been these signs all along. No, never. This is the only generation that's had all these signs. It's absolutely remarkable. We're so privileged and so blessed because the King's about to come back. What do? Help our local church, help our local pastor be more engaged, more involved. When you're getting ready to get married, you're more engaged. You talk more. Your relationship with Jesus should get stronger. Your focal point and all of our focal points should be on Him. And you know why we get into all this? Because He loves you so much. He wants you strengthened, wants you blessed, wants you encouraged, He wants you lifted up. We're about to see Him. We're about to see the eyes as a flame of fire, feet like undefined brass, voice of many waters, King of kings and Lord of lords. God is about to come to the planet. Wow, how cool is that? Well, have a blessed, awesome week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bless you.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the EDU at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.